executive team made up of myself, Rabia, Jasmine, Sam, and Ben. Rabia couldn't be with us this evening, unfortunately, because she's in Pakistan, so she couldn't make the flight. But yeah, we came up with a global campaign. You've heard the brief from Claire there. So today we're just going to outline our process, the strategy we followed, the campaign we came up with, and then why it works. So, like Claire said, our problem is that we've got an audience least likely to take action in climate change, despite potentially being the most affected by it. So, to understand this, we have to talk to an expert. So, this is Caroline Hickman. Caroline is a psychotherapist studying the psychology of 16 to 24-year-olds with regard to climate change in particular. The key insights we came away with from our conversation with Caroline were the effects of what she calls eco-anxiety. Now, eco-anxiety, she believes, is one of the main drivers of behaviour, or in this case, a lack thereof, right, with regard to climate change in young people. This anxiety is created by the presence of multiple stressors. And it's true, we're constantly bombarded with headlines about wildfires, ocean plastics, rising sea levels and emissions. And rightly so. But it's all just overwhelming. So how can we make climate change seem less daunting, more manageable, and therefore something our audience can actually tackle? Well, the answer is we need to focus on a particular issue, and that's fast fashion. So why fast fashion then? Well, first and foremost, because it's one of the climate change issues that speaks loudest to our audience. As you can see from this graph here, it is perhaps the biggest climate-related issue closely related to our target audience of 16 to 24-year-olds. And I say biggest because there are some staggering statistics associated with fashion industry in particular. So 10% of global carbon emissions, that's more than the maritime, shipping and international flights combined. And this is predicted to surge 50% by 2030. It also contributes to 20% of global wastewater annually and 20 to 35% of ocean microplastics. 800 billion clothes are purchased annually, over half of which are produced in China, the world's largest CO2 emitter, and as we know, one of the least engaged with the Paris Agreement. So we need to tackle that supply chain by reducing global demand, because not only have you got all those byproducts, you've also got the fact that 85% of clothes purchased end up in landfill annually. That's enough to fill Sydney Harbour every year. So we've got a big problem, and it's overconsumption. The fast fashion industry epitomises this overconsumption with now over 52 micro-seasons of throwaway clothing. So why are we buying so many clothes? Well, all we have to do is jump on Instagram and search, and we're blasted by different outfits and praise for them. This is what we call social impact theory, corroborated by influencers on social channels. Corroborating that is the fact that 90% of millennials state that they would make a purchase based on the content generated by one of these influencers. So what have we got? We've got an audience that's anxious and overwhelmed. We've got the effects of social media, social impact theory compounding to create massive social pressure, and we've got endless seasons and overconsumption. We need a simple solution to alleviate this anxiety and overwhelm. We need to buy less. So with 4 seasons and 52 micro-seasons, let's not buy for a season. Let's have an off-season.
So in the months of January and February, let's take a break from the fashion industry. That means no buying clothes, no posting outfits, and no stress for ourselves and our planet. With off-season, we see it being a calendar event year upon year, similar to dry January. This way brands and consumers can prepare. For fashion brands, it means a time for introspection. How do we visualise off-season? So first, we took inspiration from scrapbooks and magazine cutouts commonly associated with the fashion industry. From here, we then developed a logo. We've used different typefaces to portray the complexity of the issue. And to the scrapbook art direction, we're able to highlight the problem of the fast fashion industry. As you can see, off-season acts as an anti-brand. It stands out and rebels against all other fashion brands. how do we get 16 to 24-year-olds to participate in off-season? Well, first, we'll partner with Netflix and launch Dressing Your Planet, a Netflix documentary film that explores the darker side of the fashion industry. And it will achieve similar effects to Seaspiracy and Game Changers, which both spark behavioural change in the industry. So, Dressing Your Planet will launch in November to spread awareness of fast fashion's impact on the planet. It will hero sustainable brands and processes, and also a call to action for audience to participate in off-season. So, during off-season, we'll then weaponise the social influencers we mentioned in our strategy earlier, a three-tier system. So first, we'll target celebrities and influencers, which here will take and start trends. For example, Zwella is most known for her YouTube channel, and for example, her fashion hauls as well. So rather than her getting to promote fashion hauls, we'll get her to promote off-season and the impact it has. Secondly, we'll look at influencers who are already promoting sustainability. And thirdly, we'll look at local, and the goal here is for activation to spread off-season around the local community. For example, Lewis White. Once traction is gained from the three-tier strategy, we expect organic posts from other celebrities and influencers talking about off-season, body positivity, and how fashion does not define who we are, like these three gentlemen here. And this will then spark viral creative content across platforms for our audience. And then we challenge our audience to take existing TikTok trends and replicate them for off-season. So rather than all these different outfits, let's show that we can wear the same outfit in different locations day in and day out. And rather than different outfits for Monday to Friday, let's see if we can take 5 or 6 pieces of clothing and how that can make outfits for that week. Finally, we'll launch out-of-home content around busy and popular high streets during off-season. With our anti-brands, we take existing taglines and we can vandalise them for off-season. For example, here, just don't do it, which obviously would be off night. Finally, we'll use thought-provoking copy outside fast fashion stores to remind us that it is off-season and we have to take a break. This will also target our audience who are not getting target ads from the social algorithms.
So how can brands get involved? With off-season as a calendar event, brands can prepare year on year. We challenge brands to participate in any way they can during off-season. So Patagonia, they could shut down their website during off-season. We would partner up with Uni Days to host a swap shop at universities across the UK. They would utilise our app by no longer providing discounts during off-season, and this could be sponsored by Depop to promote second-hand clothes outside of the event. And Levi's could revamp their stores with repair workshops. So for our PR stunt, to influence people not to buy during off-season, we'll partner with new wave challenger banks such as Monzo to develop a two-step authentication process when purchasing fashion during off-season. So shop, go to pay, two-step authentication, log in, and then confirm payment. So here we have our timeline of off-season. So between September and October, we would be promoting our promotional materials for the Netflix documentary, including the trailer, which would then lead up to the launch of the show in November, just before Black Friday sales. Off-season would then be launched from January to February. In June, we would appeal to brands to collaborate for off-season in 2024, and in November, we'll be rounding up what impact we have made from the campaign at the start of the year. And off-season isn't just a one-off campaign. We hope for this to become a primary event every year that gets bigger and bigger for the fight on climate change. In addition, we'll have a website where users can sign up for our off-season and learn more information about the impact of fashion and our recommended sustainable brands to buy from.
So why is off-season so powerful? Firstly, from the graph, we can see that off-season will reduce the impact of fast fashion by a whopping 14%. Therefore, one single off-season in the short term results in 500 million tonnes of CO2 that doesn't enter our atmosphere, 70 billion litres of water is saved, 95.2 billion items saved from landfill. By looking at the effects of dry January, we can see that participants who abstain from alcohol for the month change habits in the long term. The same study showed that there is limited evidence that participating in dry January and then subsequently binge drinking in February. The data shows that the majority of dry January registrants reported an average of 15% reduction in their consumption out with the challenge. So what does this all mean? Well, in other words, a short-term challenge can achieve a long-term behavioural change. So in the long term, in the span of a year, we expect that 540 million tonnes of CO2 doesn't enter our atmosphere, 76 billion litres of water is saved, and 102 billion items saved from landfill. And then by 2050, where we aim to be net zero, we expect that 1.5 billion tonnes of CO2 doesn't enter our atmosphere, 2 trillion litres of water is saved, and 2.85 trillion items saved from landfill. So to visualise this, it's the equivalent of the CO2 of 3,782 coal power plants run for a year, 800,000 Olympic swimming pools worth of water saved, and then 5 Sydney harbours worth of coal saved. Similarly, brands will be encouraged to change practices or be left behind. Here we are seeing a graph which has shown us that Brewdog has not only become synonymous with dry January, but with the wider alcohol-free conversation. Finally, to round off our idea is off-season now. How it targets our intended audience is because it utilises the channels used by our audience that propagate the problem to combat it. What is this all for? Well, the impact the campaign will have is a guaranteed short-term effect on demand for fashion items, a more conscious future, and an incentive for brands to follow suit. We believe in this campaign, but we can't run it alone. If you can help, please get in touch. Will you participate in off-season? Thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Michael Cusack. I work for a company called ACS Clothing. We're a sustainable producer based in Scotland, and we provide the infrastructure for sustainable fashion. It heartens me to hear young people discussing my industry with such passion. What they're saying is so true. We've got rivers that are poisoned throughout the world because of the fashion industry. We've got lakes that are dried up. We've got slave labour. There are people who are dying working in our industry so people can have cheap fashion. The thing about it is there is hope. There's a lot going on. But the thing that really frustrates me about COP26, not enough has been said about our industry, about the damage that fast fashion is doing. And to hear, a project like this, we really need to get behind projects like this. There's a lot of really good stuff happening in our country in terms of sustainable fashion. We've got a fantastic up-and-coming rental market that sustains fashion, reduces the amount of ownership of garments, and it provides opportunities for people to experiment with fashion without costing the earth. The other thing as well is that we've got garment renewal. There's a lot of people, very creative people out there that are renewing garments, garments that are going to end up in landfill. Do you know that in terms of fast fashion, how much garments actually end up in landfill? Do you understand that if you buy from ASOS and you return that item, how many of those items actually go back on the shelf? 50% of them. 25% are then sold in markets, and 25% are actually end up in landfill or incinerated. Now, our company is actually partnering with companies like ASOS, and we're currently renewing 10,000 items. And let me assure you, that is a mere drop in the ocean. So it's really important that we listen to the young people and that we get behind them in projects like this, rather than sitting down and buying garments and over again, because you know what? We've always owned our garments. Why don't we share our garments? When I was young, and it was a long time ago, but when I was young, we used to share with my brothers, my uncle would hand down clothes. Why can't we do that anymore? So what we'd say to you is, please change your habits, listen to what people are saying, get behind this. One project that we are looking at right now is to level the playing field. If you talk to people who are involved in sustainable fashion, a lot of them pay the real living wage. A lot of them invest in their people, they develop their people, and that all comes at a cost. And they're up against companies that are exploiting people, not just in the third world. Type in Leicester, fashion industry, in Google, and that'll open your eyes. So what I would say to you is, please just think about what you're doing in terms of your relationship with clothes, and change it for the good, change it for the planet. We deserve better.
Thanks, Michael.
Shall everyone give a round of applause for the Fuel Change Maker Council?
That's brilliant. It'd be a good to introduce.